apologize. I just came from dinner, so.
Oh, you're good, man. Did they have sausage? It smelled like some serious.
It was good. They had beer cheese soup.
Yep, that's Wisconsin.
Yep, very, very Wisconsin.
Yeah.
As a non-Wisconsinite, I approve.
Where do you hail from?
I'm from Iowa.
Ooh.
See, we're getting away to talking.
I mean, the panel doesn't start for another couple minutes, so it's no biggie.
Ah.
All right, let's see. Do we have internet? Let's find out if we have internet. Yeah, I can snag
I'm
that.
moving you, that's what I was doing.
Oh yeah, I can move. Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. Probably better than straddling it. Like, hi, I have this massive table in front of everybody.
Hello, massive table.
Cool. All right, Let's see if we can do turn on internets. Wait, so what's this one? That's weird.
This is so good, it's not fun. Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. This shouldn't be a huge deal because, I keep forgetting that the microphone's right here.
Yep.
Very convenient. I'm digging the new audio setup. So, but what was it? So this panel isn't super long, so it's probably okay if we start a little bit late. It's not a huge rush. So, it's all good. All right, now move this out of the way so that I'm not just like blocking traffic here.
Unacceptable! Unacceptable!
Exactly.
1 million years dungeon!
Exactly. All right,
I've
so
been
we have
rewatching
that.
Vector Time, so pretty fresh on the references.
Nice. I gotta watch that. I gotta watch regular show.
I just recently finished regular show. Because when it was first coming out, I was like a little child, so I'm like, oh, this is boring. It wasn't space, who cares? But now it's like, I want to know what happened.
So speaking of shows that I've been watching recently that aren't the Pony Show, oh my God, She-Ra. Has anybody seen the new She-Ra? It is so good. It's basically Avatar: The Last Airbender, but really feminist. It is fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like great story. There's like some Doctor Who level stuff going on sometimes, and it's really cute. Like if you like some of the cute characters from the Pony Show, it's just overall a really well written show. I love it to bits. And they've done like 4 seasons now so far. But yeah, so would recommend.
Okay. Disenchantment?
I have not, but I've heard good things.
I know, it's good. If you like Matt Groening,
Yeah. Yeah, I will need sound later, so that's good because I'm going to be showing some videos.
by the way.
Oh, you are good.
Yes, and also just so you know, I'm going to be referencing my notes on my phone just because I don't have everything set up here, so it shouldn't be a huge deal. All right, battery, please hold out. Let's test this out. I mean, considering that ferret, you can hear Alkali from an entire state away.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Okay, let's see. And then, so we should have visual. Hey!
Hey.
Keep it off center. Keep it off center to piss off the audience.
All right.
Thanks, I get
Cool.
it.
Wow, this is a bigger group than I was expecting it to be. A smaller group. Thank you for joining me, everyone.
We're not ever free, so.
You're welcome.
That's fair.
When do we get the free food?
Con sweet.
Also,
I mean, you could have been here earlier. I was distributing candy in fursuit.
Free candy?
I'll have some more tomorrow. I hope.
Stranger danger!
What's your
It's
fursuit?
wrapped. What?
Sure.
Yeah, if you see like a bright orange dragon lady wandering around distributing candy in a small pink bag, that's me.
Nice.
So, cool. All right, so let's get we'll worry about the sound afterward, because stuff. All right, so yeah, I can do a quick test. Let's do a knot thing, and then I'll just grab an FL Studio over here and make some noises.
Oh, you still use FL?
I love FL. It's my mainstay. So I'll just drop a random noise here. So there should be like a cymbal noise.
Nope.
I'm deaf.
Is there a sound coming out?
No, I can just hear clicking the keyboard.
Which device it's sending it to. Everything's been.
Go down to the volume. No, go down to the volume on your
Oh yeah, sure. Casio PJ, is that it?
Click on it. Click on it and it'll give you a bunch of options.
Alright. So presuming speakers then.
Try that.
That's what we had
Might be the
before.
laptop.
Let's try it. Yay, we have audio.
There you go.
And then
We got a bunch of nerds in the audience.
we just grab whatever.
Just the audience?
This is not the panel. Okay. So yeah, we have sound, and then we can balance it later. I'll pull up some stuff. It'll be fun. Okay, cool. All right, so we're a little bit after 7, so I think we can probably get this party started. All right. So, hi, I'm Shally,
Hi, Shelley.
and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Brony fandom and how it relates to the furry fandom. So sort of history, similarities, differences, and what we can sort of learn from the pony folks. As I hope you'll see, the Brony fandom is actually very similar to the furry fandom in many respects. I'm sure it seems like some of you already are Bronies, so we made. I hope I'm not preaching to the choir too much, but my goal is not to preach. I do want to sort of level set with everybody up front. My goal with this panel is to my goal is to sort of give you some information about the Brony fandom, and then also do the exact same panel at Brony conventions to teach them about the furry fandom. The goal is to get Bronies interested in furry stuff and furries interested in Brony stuff, because I think that we can do more if we kind of work together as two fandoms. Just because I think we have a lot of similarities, I think we can kind of learn from each other in a lot of good ways. So, a little bit about me. I have been a member of the furry fandom for about 12 years, and I've been a member of the Brony fandom for about 8 years. As of this con, I've been to 32 conventions, including fur cons, pony cons, and others. I've been running panels at cons for about 2 or 3 years, and I'm also a musician and a YouTuber, and I've made content for both fandoms. I don't need to get into that, because that's not relevant right now. What's relevant is, what is a Brony? A Brony is a fan of the TV show My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Now, this term can refer to any kind of fan of the show, though some women fans prefer the term Pegasister. But the term Brony most notably refers to adult men who are fans. This is significant, but you may not appreciate why without a little background. So, a brief history of the Brony fandom. I'm going to try and cliff notes this, because there's actually quite a lot of information. They've actually made multiple documentaries about the Brony fandom. So, cliff notes version. My Little Pony began as a Hasbro toy line in 1982, created by this lovely lady here, Bonnie Zackerley. As was customary in the 80s, Hasbro created a movie and TV shows to accompany the toys. They were basically glorified toy commercials. The original show was campy, and it featured a lot of themes about like adventure and fantasy, like dragons, magic, evil creatures, all that good stuff. And as the franchise evolved, the toys and TV shows became increasingly targeted at young girls. The My Little Ponytail series, which was released in the 90s, featured themes about going to school, dating, dressing up, slumber parties, things like that. And then the 2003 reboot, simply called My Little Pony, or G3 by fans, went even younger, marketing specifically at girls under the age of 5. The storylines were very basic and were more or less just colorful pictures to keep kids occupied. It ran until about 2009. And so that context, that was 27 years of marketing and TV and toys that cemented in the public eye, My Little Pony is for little girls. Imagine the public's collective shock when they discovered just 2 years later that grown adults, especially men, were huge fans of My Little Pony. And not just fans, lots of fans. It came out of nowhere. There was fan art, there was music, there were YouTube videos, fan fiction, you name it, there was pony of it. So What happened? Why was this one different? Why did a show that was for little girls suddenly start to appeal to so many adult men? Well, many people credit this lady. This is Lauren Faust. She has had many accomplishments up to that point, most notably being the director for TV shows like The Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And in 2010, she became the creator and executive producer of the fourth generation of My Little Pony called Friendship is Magic. And she was supported by lots of amazing creative folks in the industry, including, but not limited to, writers like Amy Keating-Rogers and Megan McCarthy, musicians like Daniel Ingram, and voice actors like Tara Strong, Andrea Libman, and Kathy Westluck. If you're familiar with other shows, other cartoon media, you may have heard of some of these names. The show staff was full of people like this who had a lot of experience producing kids' entertainment, some of the best in the business. And together, they created a show that appealed to a much wider audience than was originally expected. Now, I'm not going to gush about how good the show is, but I'll just use some numbers to put things in perspective. The original My Little Pony had a TV show that ran for 65 episodes across 2 seasons and had a feature-length film. Pretty good. The following series, My Little Pony Tales, ran for 1 season of 26 episodes. The G3 version ran for had about 12 direct-to-video animated features. Friendship is Magic here had 222 episodes across 9 seasons, a feature-length film, multiple short specials, and an entire spin-off series that had 4 more feature films and countless animated shorts on YouTube. That's a lot. Friendship is Magic had more media content than the previous versions of My Little Pony combined. Hasbro wouldn't have done that if the show wasn't popular. And I don't think they would have been that popular if it wasn't for the Bronies. So, people watched the show, including adult men. Many were nerdy types, people who already had a love of cartoons. I'm sure that's probably very familiar to a lot of you. Or people who had kids or younger siblings who watched the pony shows, and they watched it with them. And so the Brony fandom as an entity got its start on the cartoon board of 4chan. And it kind of got really, and it just kind of grew from there, and grew and grew and grew until it started expanding outside of the cartoon board, and got to the point that it was so widespread and so pervasive that 4chan actually put a site-wide ban on pony content, forcing Bronies off of 4chan. They went to lots of other places. They went to sites like Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, and YouTube. They even created their own websites like Equestria Daily, Filmfiction.net, which is a pony fanfic site, and Everfree Radio, which is a Brony music site. And then it just kind of continued to snowball from there until it grew into the large, robust fandom that we have today. And so that gives you an idea of where Bronies came from. Now let's talk a little bit about how Bronies and furries are similar. I'm going to take a quick thing and then take a quick beverage break because hydration is important. I'm going to be talking about hydration more. Actually, I won't be. Never mind. At my panels tomorrow where I talk about home vocal recording on a budget. Shameless plug. Anyway. I'm just being weird. So let's talk about how Bronies and furries are similar. Well, we both love cute things. Kind of goes without explanation there. We're both very creative. As you can see, lots of varieties of creativity. We're big into art. I made it a point to choose like the most detailed art that I could find. We both love costumes. And we love spending a lot of time, effort, and money on costumes, as I'm sure many of you are well aware. We're very nerdy. We love video games. We love tabletop games, science fiction, fantasy, comic books, movies. And as you can see here, both fandoms even have their own tabletop role-playing game. They both have a very strong social media presence. Lots of users of Twitter. and both of them have a large presence on YouTube. Both fandoms actually have YouTubers with over 100,000 subscribers, though currently only Bronies have YouTubers with over 1 million subscribers. Both fandoms have conventions and meetups. And as you can see, both of them have conventions in Germany. We have Furries have Eurofurence, Bronies have Galacon. And all of these are currently active conventions. I'm not showing anything for conventions that have shut down. They are both the subjects of psychological case studies. Both fandoms have been the subject of longitudinal research studies. For Furries, it's the International Anthropomorphics Research Project. That's a tongue twister and a half. And for Bronies, it's the much easier to digest Brony study. And indeed, both studies were conducted by several of the same researchers. Both fandoms have drama. Both events in the show for the ponies and people in the fandom. Let's not get into that too much. Let's move on to something Both fandoms also have not safe for work content, and they also both have cute names for their not safe for work content. For Furries, it's Yif. For Bronies, it's Clop. Let's move on to something more wholesome. Yay! Careers. Bronies and Furries both come from all walks of life. Students, lawyers, artists, software developers, accountants, auto mechanics, you name it. And both fandoms definitely attract a lot of neurodiverse people. Sort of speaking about diversity, both fandoms are extremely LGBTQ friendly. Very, very welcoming to people all over the spectrum. And there are several well-known members in both fandoms that are openly gay or openly trans. Both fandoms are self-sustaining entities. For Furries, this is kind of a given. Like, we're fans of each other. We support other Furries in their creative endeavors, and they support us. It's amazing. Bronies are similar, and they're becoming more so now that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has ended. There are a lot of Brony content creators, and they continue to produce fan work and receive support for doing so. It's pretty cool. And then as you've probably seen, especially with Furries, Bronies, it's the same way. As older content creators sort of cycle out and move on to other things, new content creators come along to take their place and continue to make awesome content. And these are both pictures of the dealer's den at both a Furry convention and a Brony convention, just to sort of give you an idea of scope. Both fandoms are unfortunately victims of bad press. They've both been poorly represented in the media. I'm sure all of you Furries are familiar with this image from a particular TV show from 2001. And Bronies have been the victims of some unfortunate commentary on various news outlets. Though thankfully, both fandoms are receiving better media attention in recent years. Knock on wood, it'll continue to get better. Both fandoms are often misunderstood. They both have harmful stereotypes. We're all familiar with the furry stereotypes. For Bronies, they're often depicted as like man-children or neckbeards who have no life and don't contribute to society. This gentleman here was featured in one of the Brony documentaries and has unfortunately become kind of a stereotype for what a Brony looks like. I'm sure he's actually a very nice person. And as you're probably very well aware, both fandoms attract people who have been bullied for being different. And both fandoms are very close-knit. They're both family-like atmospheres. The series is literally called Friendship is Magic, so it comes as no surprise that it creates a strong sense of community. And the furry fandom is probably the most, just to sort of level set with you, the furry fandom is probably the most radically accepting community I have ever seen, bar none. And the Brony fandom is a close second. And the friends you make, you keep for years. Some of my closest friends are people I met through the Brony fandom. The photo on the left here, as I mentioned, I'm the Orange Dragon Lady, is my local Brony group, and the photo on the right is my local furry group. So that kind of gives you an idea of the many ways that the fandoms are very similar. Now I'll talk a little bit about ways that the Brony fandom is different. First, it focuses around a single franchise. The unifying factor is a love for the show. And as a result, there's kind of a greater commonality between different parts of the fandom. Like, you could literally ask any Brony, who is your favorite pony? And they'll have an answer for you. And then there's the other advantage of this is that because we're all pointing to the same franchise, it's very easy for you to get official My Little Pony merchandise. You can get various products directly from Hasbro, or you can get third-party licensed products like the Funkos, or these 4DE plushes. You can get a nice show-accurate plush for $25 because it's produced by a large corporation. It's very easy to get, very affordable. You don't have to commission anybody to get it. Though if you want like your OC, that's going to be a little bit harder. On the flip side of this, it means that the Brony fandom has a very interesting relationship with Hasbro. The thing that unites Bronies, the show, is owned by a huge toy corporation. And this has some kind of interesting implications for how the Brony fandom goes about things. They have to be more careful about some things, more so than furries do. Like, for starters, how they handle copyrighted content. The fan content that people produce is based on a corporation's intellectual property. And this has unfortunately gotten Brony content creators in hot water in the past. There have been multiple high-profile cease and desist letters filed by Hasbro at some Brony content creators. That being said, Hasbro is actually relatively lenient when it comes to policing their copyright. They are way nicer than companies like Nintendo or Disney or the BBC. Hasbro has kind of picked up on that, the Brony fandom is basically free advertising, and they let a lot of fan content exist as long as it doesn't hurt their brand, basically. Another thing that is important is another important difference with the Bronies' relationship with Hasbro is how they handle not safe for work content. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it is a lot more hush-hush. The art stays on completely separate websites. And because there are a lot more kids at pony conventions, and it's because it's very much a family-friendly show, they have to be extremely careful about that kind of stuff. There have been some pony cons in recent years that have started to do what they call an adult vendor hall, but they're only open for 2 hours at night, compared to some furry conventions where they have that kind of stuff open basically the whole weekend. So it's very different. They're a lot more careful about that. And the last thing is how they treat their guests of honor at their conventions. This is not to say that the furry fandom mistreats their guests of honor. We all treat our guests of honor like royalty. But the difference is that at most fur cons, the guests of honor are other furries. At pony conventions, most of the time, the guests of honor, they have community guests who are other Bronies, but then they also have the guests of honor. Those are all show staff. Those are all people who either currently work for or previously worked for DHX Media, who indirectly works for Hasbro. And so as a result, they have to be very careful, because one mistake, with how one convention treats their guests of honor, could have a ripple effect that affects how Hasbro views other Brony conventions. Indeed, there was because of issues at one well-known failed Brony convention, Unicon, all pony conventions now have a guest relations team to make sure that all guests of honor are treated basically like gods. I exaggerate, but they're treated very, very well to make sure that they're happy, that they're well taken care of, that they're respected, that all attendees treat them with respect. It is a little bit less of an issue now that the show is over and many of the guests of honor are not directly tied to Hasbro anymore, but it's still something that they need to be careful about. So those are some impacts of the influence of Hasbro. The Brony fandom is noticeably newer than the furry fandom. Furries got our start in the 80s, give or take. but Bronies have only been a thing since about 2011. So they're still kind of figuring out their fandom identity to an extent. They haven't had a chance to establish themselves as much. And they're undergoing a lot of change right now, especially since Friendship is Magic has ended. And I'm going to take a drink real quick, because I'm getting a little bit dry. I'm trying to be conscious of time. I just poured water all over myself. I'm good at this game. And this last one, and this one is kind of controversial. Bronies have a broader diversity of creativity. Like, there are creative types, I'm just going to say this now, there are creative types across all disciplines in the furry fandom. Like, there are animators, there are people who do music, there are writers, but a large portion of the creativity in the furry fandom concentrates on arts and crafts and costumes. By contrast, Bronies have gone in depth in many more areas. Yes, they've done arts and crafts, but they've also done fan fiction and music and game development and my personal pet interest, YouTube. Furry YouTubers almost exclusively do sort of vlog-style content, art-related content, or con videos, with some notable exceptions. Whereas Brony YouTubers do all of those things, and also animation. And yes, I know there are furry animators, but there are a lot more Brony animators, including a whole dedicated sub-community for source filmmaker. There are voice actors, music videos, they call them PMVs, pony music videos. There are dramatic readings, there's media analysis. There is a media analysis community called the Rift Cafe that has over 100 Brony analysts and reviewers. There are people who make YouTube hoops, radio plays, reaction videos, and more. They even have an entire compilation series where the community votes on the top 10 Brony videos of the month. My point with all this, I want to stress this very clearly. My point with all this is not to claim that the furry fandom is less creative than the Brony fandom. Far from it. Frankly, the fact that we create so much amazing content that is completely original and not based off of a company's intellectual property is absolutely mind-boggling. Furries don't need a corporation to produce a TV show in order for us to be creative. We can do all of that stuff ourselves, and that's really amazing. So just take the idea that furries are less creative and just throw it out the window, because it's not true. I just want to give you an idea of what else could be possible as far as the creative endeavors that we pursue. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But first, I want to show you a graph. If you'll notice, the list of similarities is much longer than the list of differences. I hope this kind of illustrates my point that Bronies are our sister fandom, and we're not trying to compete with them or anything like that. So let's talk a little bit about what we can learn from them. And soapbox warning, I do get a little bit passionate about some of these. And these are things that I think that the Brony fandom does well that we could possibly leverage in the furry fandom for to make our fandom even more awesome. And the first one is content aggregation. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean making all the different types of content more accessible, easier to access. Now, the furry fandom has a bunch of little communities, little pockets of fandom here and there, and each one has content that gets sent there. We have a couple dedicated art sites, like we have Fur Affinity, we have Weasel, etc. Some chat programs like Telegram, Discord, Furry Amino, and we use social media. And yes, that may sound like a lot, but I think we can take it further, because you see, Bronies have those things as well. But they also have more dedicated sites for their content. Like they have an art site too. They have Derpy Boru. For music, they have Horse Music Herald. For fanfic, they have filmfiction.net. Though I also recently learned about something called the Furry Writers Guild, which I was not aware of until just this week. So the idea is like, Bronies have dedicated sites for various types of content. But then they have the mother lode. Meet Equestria Daily. There is so many different types of content here. They have basically everything. Art, music, comics, fanfic, plushies, cosplay, video, analysis, editorials, news, and more. And it's all managed by a team of people who curate the content and only post the best stuff. It's a great way to get Brony content in front of a lot of eyeballs. It's not as popular as it used to be, but it's still going strong. And my point with this is that I think it would be really cool if furries had the same thing. A central hub to pool all of our furry content so that everyone can easily find all the awesome stuff out there, all this awesome stuff that we have to offer. And perhaps one of the reasons why I feel like the Brony fandom has a greater diversity of creativity, as I put it, is because it's easier to find the content, thanks to these content aggregators. There are probably a whole lot of furry creators doing awesome work that we just don't know about. Like, Indeed, I learned about, I think there's like an animation, like some sort of animation company that the furry fandom has that I was completely unaware of. Probably, I think it's because we don't do enough to sort of bring all that content together. Like, I think we could really take it further, because it's a shame that there's all this stuff out there that we might not even know about. So I hope we can learn from the Bronies and try to improve access to furry content. And so, speaking of that, in that regard, one thing that I'm particularly passionate about is music. Furry musicians need a platform. So let's talk a little bit about that in a bit more detail. Both fandoms have a lot of musicians. I'm sure you're well aware of that. But I have heard of, personally, way more Brony musicians than furry musicians. That's because the Brony fandom gives musicians a platform. What I mean by that is it's much easier for people to find them. They have an online platform, which is like music aggregators. Like I said, Equestria Daily, Horse Music Herald. That's good. But then they also have promotional YouTube channels like Cider Party. They have compilation albums like Ponies at Dawn and A State of Sugar. They have radio and DJ performances on Ponyville FM. And then there are the concerts. At most pony conventions, they have dedicated concerts at night during these conventions, usually for about 3 to 4 hours. It's a combination between DJ and electronic performances and acoustic or rock bands. And they have slots that bands can apply for, and musicians usually get between 30 to 60 minutes to perform. And at any convention, they can have over a dozen artists performing. As you can see at Weenie City last year, they had 14 acts performing. I have not heard about this level of concert at any furry convention, except maybe AC last year. And then there's the Renegade stage. Many cons have what they call, it's basically like an open mic area where people can sign up for a small time slot and just come up and perform. Anyone can do it. No experience required. You don't have to audition. You don't have to have experience as a musician. And they usually have someone there managing the sound and helping people get set up. It's great for people to sort of get used to performing in front of an audience. And my point with all this is that the furry fandom has an opportunity to do a lot more to support the awesome, amazing musicians that we have. It is starting to get better, but I think we can take it farther. And so the last one is ultimately kind of a source of encouragement for everybody. Try new things, as Gazelle likes to say. Try everything. There are lots of areas of creativity in the furry fandom that are ripe for people to go in there and really make their mark. We've done so many awesome creative things, but we have an opportunity to go deeper in many more areas. Like, we need more animators, we need more voice actors, writers, game designers, media analysts, musicians. I may be biased about the last one. If you want to be a furry YouTuber, but you want to do something different from vlogging and fursuit videos, you have a lot of opportunities, and you could possibly be a pioneer in many of those opportunities. Like, try taking a look at some of the Brony YouTubers out there and going, can I make a furry version of this? I'm sure you'd be pleasantly surprised. And so yeah, just don't be afraid to try something new that you haven't tried before, or that hasn't been seen in the furry fandom before. Anyway, I hope this gives you a little window into the world of the Brony fandom. I hope this encourages you to go out and create something amazing. Take these ideas from the Brony fandom and use them for your own projects. Use them to make our fandom even better. And I hope this encourages you to maybe check out Brony content, or maybe even attend a Brony convention yourself. This could give you more options to go to for conventions throughout the year. Like, I'm only able to really go to 3 FurCons a year because of where I live, but there are other pony conventions that I go to, so I can get my sort of convention fix if I wanted to. And so to wrap this up, I'd like to show 2 Brony videos, just to sort of maybe pique your interest a little bit. I'm going to disconnect the video real quick, so no spoilers. And then I'm going to pull it up on my internets and hope I can make it work. Please work, YouTube. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go like pulling up my video history, and then here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna go. Okay, so I'm gonna hang on a sec. Muting my computer so I don't spoil anything, because autoplay makes me sad. Apologies. Pulling up a video. Okay, so we got this here. Queued it up. Full screen. All right, and I'm going to unmute it. And I'm sure some of the Bronies in the audience may be well familiar with this one. So I'm going to pull it up now. Go like this. I wanted to start with a silly one. So that was a thing. I'm judging based off of your silence that you're probably a little bit more shocked than impressed. So, apologies for that. I thought it was funny. Okay, cool. Next one. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Friendship is JoJo's.
Yes, friendship is JoJo's. That is an accurate statement. Cool. And so the last one I wanted to show is a different flavor of video. And I'm sure this is one that, if you're a Brony in the audience, I am almost positive you've seen this one.
Cupcakes?
No, I don't want people to run away screaming. That's mean.
Wait, I have seen that. Stop.
Yeah, no, don't make people sad. This is a general audience's panel.
You showed me that one.
Anyway, so I thought this one was pretty. Maybe you'll feel the same way.
As long as it's not cupcakes.
carried you softly to sleep.
This is an original Brony song, by the way.
Once did a pony who shone like the sun look out on her kingdom and sigh. She smiled and said, surely there is no pony so lovely and so well beloved as I. So great was her reign and so brilliant her glory that long was the shadow she cast, which fell dark upon the young sister she loved and grew only darker as days and night passed. Soon did that pony take notice that others did not give her sister her due, and neither had she loved her as she deserved. She watched as her sister's unhappiness grew. But such is the way of the limelight, sweetly takes hold of the mind of its host. And that foolish pony did nothing to stop the destruction of one who had needed her most. Blue moon princess, good night, sister mine. Rest now in moonlight's embrace. Bear up my lullaby, winds of the earth, through cloud and through sky and through space. Carry the peace and the coolness of night, and carry my sorrow in kind. Luna, your love so much more than you know. May troubles be far from your mind.
So there was that. I was trying so hard not to cry. Anyway, it hits you in the feels. Yeah, so that animation took well over 2 years to create. That was one person who did that, and it was based off of a original Brony song made several years prior. It's still one of my favorite videos. So that's all the content that I had for y'all. Anything that I could, any questions, comments, snide remarks, what have you?
I've already done my film.
It's all good.
I bet you got more.
I mean, just something stupid, but I was noticing when you naming all the famous Brony, YouTubers.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't put Pimations up there.
I don't know how to feel about Pimations.
I'm sorry, I love the guy, but
No, it's not. I also don't know if has he. Okay, so he has appeared on Bronies React. Does that make him a Brony? I guess so.
Have you seen all his videos he's made about it?
How many? I know he's made. I know he's made the elements of cringe.
Yeah,
but what?
He made an anthology short too.
Hmm?
He made an anthology short.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
He's like
Yeah, so for those who are unfamiliar, Ponies the Anthology is basically the Brony equivalent of like Robot Chicken, where they took like basically they got a whole bunch of different content creators to create like 5-second to 30-second long videos and basically just put them back to back, and so apparently Pimations, I forgot, contributed to one of those projects. So yeah, totally forgot about that. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, like anything else.
How much was the videos done by Dr. Wolf influence on this video?
Great question. I honestly kind of stopped watching Dr. Wolf before I thought about this panel, but in the past, Dr. Wolf, I was a big fan of his. I stopped watching his content because his thumbnails were very spoilery. But now that the show's over, it doesn't matter, so I can watch his content again. But anyway, so Dr. Wolf is a Brony YouTuber, contrary to his name. He is a Brony, but his brother, Tarek, I believe, is a Furry, and they had several conversations about like comparing and contrasting the Brony fandom. It's very interesting discussion videos, but yeah, so maybe subconsciously it was influenced by that, but I think ultimately it's just, for me, it was just the fact that I've been in both fandoms long enough to know that to appreciate just how similar they are, and I think it could be really cool if we work together. So my next step is to take this to a pony convention and show them some awesome furry content and have them go like, yeah, that's so cool. Let's go to a fur con. And yeah, so that way we can be stronger together. And so, yeah, that's what I got.
I wish I could have you tell it to my roommate. He's Brony and he hates all the furries. I'm like, well, what is this?
You have to show him something motivational. Like show him something really positive. Like show, I don't know, Adler the Eagle or Picari Roo or something Foxes and Peppers made.
He gets all mad and he's like, what is this?
Yeah, case in point. I'm sure you have lots of ideas for how to talk to people who don't like the furry fandom.
I was actually way loving that soundtrack there. It was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, the artist is named Ponyphonic. They make lots of other music like that. Tons and tons of great symphonic pieces. Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, it's one of the best. I kind of cheated. It's like, let's choose the best video in the Brony fan base. One could argue, but yeah, yeah. No, we're not doing cupcakes. It's gory.
We're yelling at him.
No. Okay.
I've
Anyway,
seen that one.
that's all my content. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I'm glad. Wow, this is a huge turnout. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. That's all I got. Oh yeah, I guess one last thing. Shameless plug.
Oh no.
If people ever want to find my stuff, this is my stuff. I have a YouTube channel, and if you, that's not super relevant here. Like I mainly do videos for like home vocal recording, and I produce music. I've made pony songs, and I just recently finished a collaboration project with Citrine. So because I love both fandoms, I try to do projects for both of them. And yeah, that's kind of my thinking. Anyway, yeah, that's what I got. Thank you, everyone. I literally just gave a 45-minute speech.
I told you, I might be done, but I'm not.
You don't have to sit here unless there's another event in here, in which case I'm gonna pack out.
I had a good time. It was good.
Cool.
As much as I've been over here making noise, it was good.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Cool. Oh my God, I love it. I don't go to Iowa State, but I am in the Iowa State area Bronies group, and I'm a part of the Iowa State Furries Discord server.
Okay.
Might have to be more specific. Is he a shepherd?
Yes.
Kai shepherd? Yeah, he's like the moderator of the group. He's a friend of mine. Nice guy. Yeah, I think there's a couple people that I saw from the Iowa group here. There were more of them at MFF. There was like at least a dozen of them that showed up. Yeah, absolutely. Nice, thanks.
He's trying to make a funny.
Was my joke too corny for you?
Stop! Make it stop, please. Help.
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.